All right. Oh, welcome. Good to see everybody here. Welcome to 5 toxic success myths and, of course, the antidotes to those myths. So I'm really glad we got a wonderful group of people live. And I want to just get into it. I have a lot to say, but I want to reserve the bulk of our time for your questions. So, um, my name is, you don't all know me super well. My name is Sonia Simone, and I'm a content marketer. I'm a business coach. I've been in content driven business professionally for probably 25 years ish, somewhere in that range. Um, writing content to drive business goals. I did a little back of the envelope calculation. I've written in the neighborhood of about 1.5 million words of content for business, not counting writing for other things. I'm not going to recommend you all do that unless you really, really want to. Um, yeah, I know a lot about digital business, especially content driven business. Been in business a long time, seen a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was a founding partner of Copyblogger Media, and I spent about 10 years with Copyblogger, which was an amazing experience because it really let me see digital business and marketing at a very high level, what happens behind the scenes for the really huge sites, which is an amazing insight to be able to share with you all. So today, our plan is I'm going to talk for about, I'm going to try and keep it to about 20 minutes. And I'm going to talk about 5, I call them toxic success myths. These are um, these are the things that I see come up over and over again in my coaching work and in, working with students, working with people working on their websites. So these are 5 things that get in people's way and that can be dismantled. So we're going to walk through some of the tools you can use to kind of unpick those knots and keep them from blocking you up. I'm going to talk with you just for a couple of minutes. For those of you who are not working with me, we've got some lovely folks who do currently work with me. If you would like some help with that, I offer help with these. So I'll just share just for a couple of minutes how that might work if you have an interest. And then really the bulk of our time is going to be Q&A with my co-host, my Copyblogger colleague, longtime friend. I think we're sort of like have mutually coached each other for 10 plus years now, Pamela Wilson. And
Yes.
I know lots of you, some of you all are coming here from Pamela's side and some from my side. And then a lot of folks um, have seen a lot of both of us from being in the Copyblogger world. So let's get it started because as always, I have a lot to say. So I want to talk about, again, these 5, I call them toxic success myths. These are 5 mental kind of toxic reels that tend to play in our heads when we're trying to get something big done, trying to get something ambitious done. And I over and over see very capable people get derailed by one of these or combinations of these. So we're going to touch on it lightly today. I have a suspicion I will be diving more deeply into these in future sessions. So if there is one that is really ringing your bell, please let us know in the chat and that lets me know, what to work on next. Yes, those are some boats, as Dr. Doofenshmirtz says. All right, just in a quick overview, some of you saw this in maybe one of the emails. The 5 myths: the myth of saintly poverty, being rich is going to make you a bad person. The myth of the lone wolf. The myth of the business gene or innate business talent. This is a juicy one, the myth of modest hard work. Ooh, this one is really core for people. And then finally, I want to talk about the myth of imposter syndrome, and we'll unpack what I mean when I say that. So where do these things come from? They really are. All of these really come from very pervasive cultural messages. And in particular, there are cultural messages about what successful people look like, who gets to be successful, and who is not supposed to be successful. And so these are things that even if we consciously really try and say, I reject that idea, I don't believe in that, I'm not about that, they still tend to inform things kind of behind the scenes in an emotional way and in a kind of below the radar way. I want to talk about just one of these. There are, quite a few of them. I want to talk about one today that I really see as being pervasive in very qualified people who are uncomfortable moving to maybe a little more ambition. And that is this distinction between a human being and a human giver. I would be very interested in chat to know if anybody has seen this before. I'm going to just read you a quick passage from a very, very good book called Burnout, written by the sisters Emily and Amelia Nagoski. And this is a quote from them. Philosopher Kate Mann describes a system in which one class of people, the human givers, are expected to offer their time, attention, affection, bodies, willingly, placidly to the other class of people, the human beings. So the implication in these terms is that a human being has a moral obligation to be or express their humanity, and a human giver has a moral obligation to give their humanity to the human being. So some people are coded for kind of a full expression, right, of their dreams, their values. They are the ones who are coded to, just society has decided these are the people who are going to make things happen. They're going to live their best life. They're going to make most of the money. They're going to control most of the resources. And then everybody else gets categorized as the help, right? So this is obvious, you're probably already picking up. This is largely about gender, but it is absolutely not only about gender. And it is also not also necessarily only about externals. I know I know a guy. He's incredibly capable, competent, well-known, incredible variety of experience, but he sees himself as a human giver, and he has a very hard time um, with authority. He has a very hard time speaking up and saying, actually, I know a lot about this topic, and I really could help you out with that. Um, so this divide between the kind of people who are supposed to be successful and then the kind of people who are supposed to help the successful people is at a core of a lot of the weirdness that we see. And there's anything like this, there are multiple roots, but this is, I think, very core. So I want to jump into these myths so we can start to get them untangled and disarmed. The first one is this idea that success cannot be ethical, that if you are ambitious, that if you actually sell something, that if you say you are good at what you do, that you are going to immediately turn into, Snidely Whiplash or Mr. Burns or just a giant sales hole. And I just want to reassure you that that is not going to happen. And I know that's easy to say, but we need to keep saying it, and we need to keep saying it to each other. Money tends to amplify. Money gives access to a bigger microphone. So awful people who get money, and especially money combined with a lot of visibility, those resources allow those horrible people to be horrible at scale. It's an amplifier. The Kardashians did not have taste before they had a reality show. They just now have resources to not have taste at a much bigger scale, as an example. So this really does hold, I think, a lot of people back, a fundamental discomfort with putting themselves into the category of ambitious, successful, affluent. If the idea of becoming affluent or even wealthy really makes you sort of have a reaction, there may be a reel along this in the back that if you attain more success, you are going to turn into a kind of person you really don't like. There are a number of tools for this. We might go in this deeper in another session if you want to. I'm going to give you one. The first tool to work with it is just to recognize that more resources lets you do whatever it is you're doing on a larger scale. If you give money to charity and you have more money, you give more money to charity. If you spend money on, crummy political causes, you'll spend more money on those causes when you have more of it. Something that can be very helpful if you think this might be playing a role is to sit down and make a generosity plan for your business. So this is really saying, okay, out of my top line revenue, I'm going to donate, let's say 5% to some organization that I care about. And it is easier to do that before you start making a lot of money, actually, because it's easier to give small amounts than big amounts. Even it's not a bad idea to go so far as to open like a separate account, a separate bank account for generosity savings. And that just very tangibly will demonstrate to you that the more revenue you're bringing in, the more leverage you have to do something that you think matters. And that you think matters for another person who might not have the resources you have. So that is a tool. There are a number of tools we can use to get around this, but I just wanted to share one with you today.
I love that one.
It's
I love it.
It's really nice, especially if you can do it in a way like some charities are set up where they match a dollar amount to something tangible like Heifer or Smile Train.
Right.
You give $250 and that's one cleft palate surgery. That's always, you have to understand, that's always kind of a figure of speech, right? It's
Right.
running a nonprofit is complicated, but it lets you visualize it. And if you can visualize it, just visualize it for yourself. This is going to buy, this is going to pay for so much housing for unhoused people or whatever it is. It really help you reprogram that reel.
I love that. And it's also, you're telling yourself, if I make this much more money, imagine how much more good I can do. And you're seeing it visually as that account gets higher and higher. So I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And one of the underlying things about this presentation is that success really is a set of skills that for example, many affluent people grow up with just learning this stuff from their families because they come from affluence. And a systematic plan for charitable giving is not at all uncommon among sort of like the kind of well-off people you would want to spend any time with. So it might be a new idea to you, it might not, but I definitely know people who grew up with this, and it's that old concept of tithing from the church. So in this case, you're just tithing to something that you care about, whether it could be a church, but it could also be any kind of number of things. All right, number 2. I think we know this, but we don't know this, which is the myth of the lone wolf. So there is a very prevalent belief in the United States that kind of leaks out into other countries as well of the self-made, millionaire. In fact, there was one of the younger Kardashian women was named, the youngest self-made billionaire, maybe. I mean, give me a break, right? It's like that's not self-made on any level, I mean, maybe she's an amazing human being, but that is not self-made. Nobody creates, you cannot create success all by yourself unless your definition of success is like surviving the winter and you're living in a cabin in the woods with an axe and a bow and an arrow. I mean, it doesn't happen. We're not alone. We're not a solitary species. We all rely on infrastructure. We all rely on a certain amount of education, however we might get that. We rely on, libraries and blogs and podcasts that teach us things. We rely on so many things. And that's Tiva's business plan. It's becoming kind of appealing, isn't it? Yeah, just get out there. Yeah, I like a nice bathroom too much to go live in the woods. Nobody makes success on their own, and trying to do everything yourself really slows you down. It really slows you down. And in digital business, this is so seductive because you get this thing like, I'm not good with team. I don't think I'm a good manager. I just want to like do all my own stuff. I want to code my own website. I want to write all my own content. I want to do my own tech. And you you will be there until the heat death of the universe trying to get that all working. I mean, people do it, but people climb Everest too. It doesn't mean you have to be able to climb Everest to enjoy hiking. You do not have to do it all yourself, and you should try not to. Anytime you find yourself saying, well, I could just do this myself quicker and it wouldn't cost me anything, you should really, really question that. Yeah, I'm at least all of these, I'm probably 2 times as guilty as the next person of all of these. So the antidote, right, is people, people, get team, but also, if you are maybe starting, if the budget is a little tight, make friends with people who are good at things you're not good at and do some trades to give yourself that momentum. There's lots of ways to get things done without doing it all yourself. Also, um, if something that you want to do in your business is offered as a service, and that service is something like you say, okay, I can see how, that's not breaking my bank. Let's say sending out your emails to your email list. Do not do that yourself. Get a good service, pay the nice people at the service. You will save yourself the time to do what you are actually really good at. I want to propose 2, in my experience, with very successful people and also people who are really, really wrestling, really still in the wrestling phase. There are 2 resources I think are almost essential to um, any kind of business, digital or otherwise. One is that you really want a champion. You want somebody who, this is a mentor, this is a coach. Try not to make this person somebody you're related to, because that's a lot of emotional labor to ask your spouse to, like, you know, talk you up when you're having a bad profit month and they're looking at the bank account. But you need somebody who's in your court, on your side, has your back, and who can give you good advice. So this person needs to be qualified to be able to give you solid business advice when you need advice, because we spend a lot of times looking at 2 paths and thinking, I'm really not sure which one to go toward. And you also need a squad. You need people who are at a roughly similar level to you, who know what you're going through. And again, these are the people who, on the days when you don't have confidence, they have confidence for you. When you need to know, does anybody know how this email automation works? Somebody in your squad is like, oh yeah, I did that last month. Let me get my notes. I'll share them with you. You really want to have a crew of, call them business besties, call them whatever you want to call them. But you need a crew of people to help you with the hard parts, because it's business and there are always going to be hard parts. You never get to this level unless you have sold your business and you're just living on, the money from that. You never get to a level when your business is not stressing you out on some level. Sorry, sadly. This is why rich people play golf. Rich people play golf because it lets them spend a couple of hours of uninterrupted time talking to people who know a lot about business and know a lot about success and affluence and investing and all that kind of stuff. And some of those people are able to get to that, take that more mentorship level of being somebody with more experience, who has seen more, done more, seen more things. So that is the appeal of golf. It's, it's a game where you can have a long, deep, in-depth conversation. Now, you can take up golf. Golf is a good game. It's an interesting game, or not. There are other ways to do this besides golf. But think about what's your golf. What's your practice that you spend a couple hours a week doing that gets you around people who understand what you're doing and can help you work through the tricky parts. All right, I want to talk about the myth of talent, and the business gene. A lot of people believe this, that they just don't have any. A lot of people believe some people are just good at business and some people are not. And if you don't have it, you can't get it. This is an absurd idea. Now, there is absolutely no business gene. And one of the reasons there's not a business gene is there's not only one way to do business. So some people are innately more extroverted. Some people are innately more introverted. Some people definitely tend to be maybe more verbal. Some people tend to be more visual. Some people do really well in a one-to-many kind of situation. So, a big blog, a big podcast, a big audience. Some people are really much more, they prefer a few clients, fewer business relationships. There are a lot of ways people have successful businesses. So there are and some of the things you would think would really hold people back. For example, ADHD. ADHD makes it hard to implement. It makes it hard to keep good track of time. It makes it hard to keep commitments, and it makes it hard to stay focused. And ADHD people are overrepresented as successful business owners and founders, which makes no sense at all. They actually literally have the anti-business gene. And yet there are ways to build businesses that work with that, mostly involving team and structure. So there is no business gene. Anytime you find yourself saying like, I'm just not good at sales. I'm never going to be good at sales. It's never going to happen. I really want you to notice that that's coming up and then think about, well, if I did get good at sales, maybe what kind of sales practice could I get good at? What could I do? What could I make happen? There's almost always a way to do it. You don't have to be good at writing. You don't have to be good at math. You don't have to be good at, any of the things you think you're good at. But I also really challenge you. You're smart and you can learn things. And you can learn things you never thought you were going to be able to master. I mean, I never thought I was going to be tidy. I was a very untidy kid. I was the world's messiest child. And I'm a tidy adult. You can learn. That's the thing about skills, is that they can be learned, and also they can be learned to a certain level. And then you can decide, I'm going to pay somebody who's really exceptional at this skill, and they're going to help me out with this part because it's not really my strong suit. There's a lot of ways you can make things happen. All right.
Unmute myself. Can I say one thing, Sonia?
Please do.
What I love about this is if you are afraid that you're never going to achieve the skill level that you think you must have in order to be successful, in some way that may actually hold you back from really pursuing success, because you may feel like my internal systems won't scale to meet the moment. When I become more successful, that means I'm going to have to sell more, to use Sonia's example. And I don't know how to sell, and I can't learn how to sell, and I don't know how to do this. So if you can work through this now, then you sort of clear the path so that you can pursue success in the way that you would like to pursue it.
Yeah, really, really, really important, because we do sometimes avoid certain kinds of tasks because we're a little nervous about what happens if I get a little too what happens if I sign too many people. I regret to inform you, this is an uncommon problem. It does happen, but it's an uncommon problem. And there are ways to, set boundaries too around, I'm going to take this many clients because This is how much bandwidth I have. But there are also ways to set up systems to increase your bandwidth for different kinds of things, different kinds of work. Yeah, I think we've all been there. So you want to learn the right skills and you want to learn them at the right time. I think it's many of us, you're in this place where you're maybe a little insecure about your business. You're a little insecure about, let's say, your sales ability or your tech or whatever it is. And so you take, kind of class after class after class, and you have a bunch of podcasts and you have a bunch of notes and you don't quite use any of it. So you want to pick up the right skills, but you also want to think about picking them up at the right moment. You don't have to pre-learn to get good at the thing you're not doing right now. Get good at the thing, get good at the next step, the one that's in front of you, and then keep moving forward. And sometimes you'll find that that will let you approach that skill in a way that's more relevant for you and better suited to you. All right, we talked about this being kind of a juicy one. I want to talk about this myth of modest hard work. So this is this idea that you get good at what you do. Some of you, my friends, have a couple of graduate degrees. You put the work in, and then you put some more work in. You get incredibly good, and there's some part of you that says, if I'm this good, people should see it and then want to work with me. That my excellence should speak for itself. And your excellence does not speak for itself. And it sucks, but it's just how it is. One of my kind of this is one of my kind of Sonia's law, like Poe's law or Godwin's law. Sonia's law is that nothing sells itself. That even Apple products need marketing. Everything needs marketing. Even puppies, like the puppy's got to be somewhere. You can see the puppy to buy the puppy. Nothing is so great that it sells itself. We have to speak up and let people know about it. And we have to present it in the right way. So one of your fundamental skills to learn as a success skill is learning how to advocate for yourself, learning how to speak up about what you are good at. Now, those of us who work a lot in writing have a great advantage because we can throw away 20 really wimpy first drafts and cross out all the qualifiers and all the stuff. Or we can pass our webpage to a coach or a mentor or a business friend and say, can you just look at this for me? And they can say, and cross out all of your, I'm not really that good at what I do. And give yourself a good, strong articulation of what you do. You can learn how to do this. Sometimes you have to pretend you're another person. That's okay. But you really can learn to speak up clearly about what you are actually good at. Because I will tell you the horrible, horrible, horrible truth about business, which is when that person, that mediocrity who is selling 10 times more stuff than you are, and they're making you crazy because they are not good at what you do, and yet they have all your clients, is because they can speak up for themselves, and they do. And you hedge every statement that you make. And so you don't seem confident. And so you don't seem like you would be the best choice. Or you're just not seen. Your voice is too soft. Your voice is too quiet and you're not getting seen. So it really sucks. It's hard to learn to speak up for yourself. It's hard to learn to even brag a little bit in a not gross way, in a not creepy way, but it's going to feel like bragging when you tell the truth about what you do. As difficult as that is, it is not as painful as watching some mediocrity take all your clients away. That really blows. All right, and then last one, and this one is, I think, probably fairly quick, is what I'm calling the myth of imposter syndrome. And I am not going to tell you that imposter syndrome is not a real thing, but I think that we buy into this idea of imposter syndrome maybe over much. So first of all, the women who kind of coined this term and started writing about it, in a defined way, later came back and said, really, it should not be called imposter syndrome. It should be called imposter experience. It is not an illness. It is not. It's not a neurosis. Imposter experience of feeling like I don't really know that I belong here, even though I have all these clients who love me and I have 20 amazing testimonials on my website. I'm not sure I'm really good enough to be here. I would call that an imposter experience, but also it comes from somewhere. And I'm going to tell you where it sometimes comes from, which is that we are looking in a mirror that is distorted. This goes back to that idea of the human being and the human giver. If you see yourself more in that human giver role, that you have a moral obligation to give your time away, give your attention away, give your affection away, give your expertise away. You have a moral obligation to help other people get what they want. And if there's enough scraps left over, you can maybe get a little bit of what you want. If that's how you see yourself, when you step into an authority position, you will feel this kind of vertigo because you don't see yourself as a human being in this sense of a success being. You see yourself as a success helper. And when you speak up about what you do, when you do a little bit of ethical, honest bragging about what you do, just clearly saying what you're good at, you're going to get that wobble of vertigo. That is a natural thing. So just recognize it. That is an experience. It is not a syndrome. It does not mean you are self-sabotaging. It does not mean you have some kind of chronic imposter, millstone around your neck. It is just a natural thing that happens and it particularly happens when people who are not coded by the general society to be successful claim ambition and success. So it happens more often to Black people than white people. It happens more often to women than men, etc. And yeah, as Pamela says, calling it an experience, it really addresses that this is a temporary emotional state. It will come and it will go. And it does. And if it shows up, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. And I originally called this the myth of the gut instinct because people will say, I'm thinking about launching this really high value offer, but I don't know, my gut just feels like I get kind of nauseous when I think about it. Maybe my body is telling me something. And it's like your body is giving you vertigo because you're stepping into a role that culturally you're not sure you're allowed to have. So I'm not saying, I'm not saying ignore your gut or that your gut doesn't give good information, but sometimes it gives information from a place that might not be useful to you. So a couple of things about imposter experience, and then we're going to do some questions. Oh, thank you, Dawn. Good to see you here. Imposter syndrome, some of the ways we can get through that imposter experience, if you think a lot of people that I see really believe they are chronic self-sabotagers. Now, if you really believe that about yourself, I want to make sure you're working with a therapist to unpack that because it is a real thing that people sometimes do. They sabotage themselves. I will say a lot of self-sabotage is somebody else sabotaging you. Being in a room with a lot of toxic people who see you and dismiss you because of what you look like, because of something external about you, because of some bias on their part. And so get yourself into the right room really helps with that experience. My friend Marcella Allison, my Italian always kicks in, wrote this amazing report that I'm trying to get her to publish about women in business and mentors. And a woman who has a women support group tends to make 2 to 3 times more money than a woman who's only in mixed gender, networking groups or masterminds, things like that, professional groups. It's fine for her to be in those mixed groups. Those are great. You know, if that woman wants male clients or male colleagues, it's good for her to be in mixed groups. But having that room of other people who understand um, maybe some unique experiences that the guys just haven't had, so they don't get them, gives that confidence, and it loosens up some of that vertigo. And I haven't seen numbers on this, but I would bet you large amounts of folding money that the same thing is true for Black people in the professional world. You know, people, we need groups that look like us so that we can see ourselves in a less distorted way. And you know, our that's one of the things that your champion and your squad do for you is they hold up a good mirror that shows you who you really are and your strengths. And even, you know, when it's like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm not sure you want to do that. Have you thought that through? But they show you clearly, and that's really, really important.
I want to add one thing there about
Yeah.
having a squad of business friends who support you. And it's that I think one of the most valuable things is that when you have that group of friends, they know your history. So sometimes they're holding up the mirror and they're saying, hey, you know, I've noticed in the past, this is what you've done when you've felt this way,
Yeah.
or this is how you handled it. And, you know, why don't we find a different way to manage it going forward? They hold your history in their hands and in their hearts and in their brains. And that can be super helpful when you're having a hard time seeing it for yourself.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who's really objective, even the most financially and otherwise successful people I know. I don't know anybody who's objective about their own business. It's just too hard. It's too important, you know?
And
So
if you're
getting,
confronting a challenge in the moment, you may
yeah,
be dealing with just a lot of like adrenaline and
right,
fear and all that, and that can cloud your vision. So having other people who aren't in the midst of that challenge, who can say, hey, you know, I just want to remind you, this is what has worked. And I hear you talking about this a lot. Are you planning on doing something about it? And things like that
yeah,
can be super helpful.
yeah. And keeping in mind, doing something about it is not necessarily like, are you planning on punching yourself in the face until you get over being such a loser? It's like, you know,
No, no,
if
no.
if you
Yeah.
want if you want that kind of group, I mean, they're out there. I don't think it's very helpful. But a lot of times it's, you know, you seem like this is such a you seem like this is really a hurdle for you. Could we just go around it? Could we just solve this problem a
Yeah.
different way where you
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
have to keep, you know, just smashing yourself in the face with this difficult problem? So there's again, there's so many kinds of business. That's the problem. It's not a problem, but I love courses. I've taught a lot of courses. More than 300,000 people have taken my courses. Um, Courses are very valuable, but courses can only give you one model, a generalized model. There comes a point when you have to kind of cross that threshold and use courses for basic skills. But then when you're going to apply the skills, when you're going to actually put them into practice, you want to be working with in smaller, you know, small groups. And again, if you can get a champion, really, every time I go without a coach, I can really feel it. You know, you just start to get, you lose your momentum and you lose your confidence. So it's really, really important. So we're just about at the end of this, and then we've got lots of time for questions. The big myth, the overarching myth, the myth that kind of is the umbrella for all of these is that success, particularly financial success, and also, you know, the markers, right? The big audience, the big podcast, whatever it is, that's for those other people. That's for people who are somehow fundamentally different than I am. They are successful people, and I am the not successful person. It is 100% related to that idea that some people are the full human beings and they get to be successful, and the rest of us are the help. So it is an incorrect belief. And the antidotes are just to the five, starting with ethical models. There are lots of good ethical models out there. There are very ethical business models. There's, you know, the idea of a generosity plan so that your revenue is automatically going to larger causes. There are ethical marketing principles. I will tell you, I have a client right now. She's doing a real transition between, her marketing looking like a lot of marketing. She's very good at it, to something just more heartfelt that really rejects all of the culty guru stuff. She's totally crushing it, and she's loving her business now. It is out there. The models are out there. Finding your mentor, your champion, your squad. Learn those business and money skills, and have the confidence that you can learn them. Learn the self-advocacy skills, the skill to speak up for yourself and to say why you're so good at what you do, and then seeking that healthy support and advice, not just necessarily everybody telling you you're awesome all the time, but healthy, reality-based support and advice when you do have the self-doubt, because it happens to everybody. And we will put all of this, of course, into the replay and all the notes and things so that you can have them for your reference. Okay, I want to talk to you just for a minute, because this is what I help people do in large part. I think on paper, I am a business and marketing coach. I help people develop offers. I help people develop content for their websites. But fundamentally, I would say 80% of the time we spend together is picking out head trash, unpacking it, putting it where it belongs, putting it in the receptacle where it belongs, moving forward. I have a number of ways that I do that. The most powerful way that I do it is something called the Offer Accelerator. That is 6 months. It is essentially a 6-month champion and squad program that includes skills. So we work systematically and intensively on what you offer, because what you offer is your business. They're the same thing. Your offer and your marketing are like two arms on the same body. They are part of the same body. You get 6 months of personal one-on-one time with me. You get 6 months of squad once a week. You get personalized feedback on your projects in case you are second guessing yourself, and your sales page has the word maybe on it 27 times. We just help you with that and get that tidied up. I know you all, because I've been you all. That's the thing. If you are curious, you can pop over here, offeraccelerator.com. There's a form at the bottom of that page. It's just 5 questions. It just lets me know kind of where you are. And if you feel, by the way, a little intimidated about Offer Accelerator, that is that's the most transformational thing I offer, but I do offer some smaller packages as well. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, there are some other options. The other thing you can do, if you want to, just drop your email in chat. Drop it to me in a DM if you prefer. I mean, if you don't want everybody to know your email, I understand. And the word connect, and we'll just reach out and see if I might be able to help, because I really, really do. That's the thing about the human being and the human giver model, is I think it does underestimate. It's very powerful to help people. And in fact, one of the ways you can start to work on that imposter experience is really reflect on the people that you have helped, because that's really meaningful. It's really serious. All right. I want to introduce you all to Pamela Wilson. Many of you know her. Maybe most of you know her, but a few of you don't. Pamela we've known each other for a really, really long time. We've known each other most of my digital kind of life, because Pamela did a program with me back in the day to transform her extensive brick and mortar business experience into a digital world. She was my colleague at Copyblogger. We did some epic stuff together at Copyblogger. We did some epic stuff together. So yeah, between us, I was saying that between us, we have more than 50 years of business experience, but I think it's more than that. It's a lot. So Pamela, welcome. We are here for your questions. What have you got? Pop it into the chat. And starting off with, is there anybody in the room who has one of these you really think is like stands out more than the others for you? Is there one that you have a lot of stuff with imposter experience, or you have a lot of stuff with that kind of like, I want to make more money and be able to pay my bills reliably, but oh, I don't like rich people. There's a yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, everyone commented on everything in chat. It's been a really active chat. And lots of folks were talking about this. I mean, kind of responding to this idea of the self, kind of advocating for yourself and how difficult that can be. And, being more definitive about how you speak about yourself. And Toril mentioned your bragging formula. So I don't know if you want to talk about that. And I see Tiva has a hand raised. So maybe we can.
Let me talk about the 10% brag, and then we'll talk about Tiva's question. I have something I call the 10% brag. I teach it I have a course that I teach on creating a content platform, like an authoritative flagship content platform. And the 10% brag it starts with really quantifying some accomplishments you have in you might have noticed, I told you that I've taught more than 300,000 students in my courses. That's a 10% brag. It is the truth. It's actually considerably more than that, because I have a course on Coursera, the strategy of content marketing, and Coursera is a really big platform. And also we had lots and lots of customers on Copyblogger. First of all, I mean, do kind of think about it. It's not bragging if it's the truth. But also, when I tell you I've written more than 1.5 million words of content, that's a 10% brag. It's taking an experience, really boiling it down into something that can be just part of a sentence. And then making sure you remember to bring it up sometimes. So 10%, like maybe you're bringing it up 10% of the time. Spend 10% of the time reminding people that you actually know what you're talking about, because people are not actually paying laser focused attention to every single word you say, and they can miss it. And they do miss it. It doesn't matter what you are great at. Some people in your circle are like, I didn't realize you did coaching. I didn't realize you happens all the time. And it happens a lot to people and you don't have to go to that 89% brag of that dude at the networking meeting. That's all he does. It's like, that's obnoxious. But spend some, keep remembering regularly to just let people know your background, and your background is impressive. And the first step of that is kind of coming up with some impressive things about me. Sometimes you have to do this with another person because it brings up stuff.
And that is one place where someone else holding that mirror up and helping you to see something that they know for sure others will respond to, but you may not be able to see it yourself. That can be super, super helpful.
Yeah. Okay, we've got
Tiva has a question.
Yeah. Go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what your question is.
Hi, I'm Tiva. I've raised over $20 million through over 100 successful proposals as a grant writer. The problem is I really, really, really want to pivot. And so my particular version of imposter syndrome is focused on this idea of I can pitch myself as a grant writer. I am full of doubt about whether the world is going to let me be anything other than a grant writer, even though I know I have tons of very transferable skills.
Yeah.
That's my big, and that's actually, I don't need to say a whole lot more. That's my question is, do you have a take on this set of advice that's specifically related to when you're trying to when you're trying to break into some other area without actually going back to school to hear a whole bunch of stuff that you already know.
What's the kind of realm or topic that you're looking to pivot to?
Well, that's part of the problem, of course. Anything else?
Okay.
That's a big part of the problem. But like, my skills are in persuasive writing and proposals and reports and investor relations, newsletters.
Okay.
I don't have skills in SEO and all that stuff. And I am debating whether I should learn that. There's certainly a heck of a lot of people who do that already.
Writing words that make people get money is enough. You don't have to have SEO. And I think that, so you landed on a thing that it's especially common with accomplished people. When there are so many things you could do, it's like, well, what do you want to do next? And you're like, why do you ask me stupid hard questions? Yes. So, you may want to think about maybe committing to a direction. You don't have to do a hard and fast thing, but think about a direction, and then you just transfer it. Now, see, if the direction is like veterinary surgery, then your experience is completely irrelevant.
Right.
But if you want to go toward, and I mean, there's a lot of things that people like persuasive writing to do. So, if you wanted to go towards, business copywriting, or, maybe just more copywriting for nonprofits, not just grant writing, or whatever it is you want to go to, then it's just a question of, in my X years in this role, I generated this brag number. That number is the number that people are going to do a double take on. And then the rest of it's not relevant to them, so I'll tune it out. So.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing would be to think about talking to people who have pivoted from grant writing into something else. If you know any of those people, and researching careers where that list of skills that you just rattled off for us, which is so impressive. Just researching, and you probably have done this, but researching where those skills could be plugged in, what that might look like.
Yeah, I belong to a lot of message boards where I see other people who are in the same boat.
I will tell you, there's a little bit of a potential pitfall that can happen there.
Yeah.
People get on message boards because they're frustrated.
Yeah.
And so when we're on, that's like Reddit and most social platforms and message boards, and it can give you the impression, because people will just tell you flat out, it is impossible to do this other thing. It's just not possible. I've been trying. It's not possible. It's not the real world. So that can start to color how you're looking at things in a way that may or may not be realistic. So
yeah, that's a very good point.
So just thinking about that, and thinking about, looking for some spaces for people who are getting more traction and more momentum, just to at least balance that out. Because that is one of those skills that is always in demand in a bunch of different environments, and it's probably a very small amount of tweaking you would need to do to make it work for in another environment.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's see, Cheryl.
Cheryl has a question.
What would you like to talk about?
Yes. So as you were going through those, I was taking notes about which ones, resonated. And I would say that something that I don't think we talked about, which was perfectionism, into the mix.
Yeah.
And basically created a self-reinforcing loop of having no time or not enough time to work on the business and in the business, I couldn't learn the things I needed to know at the time I needed to know them, kind of like you were talking about. And, you know, ultimately became overwhelmed and closed that business, which I think was had probably run its course anyway. So in the last 7 years or so, I switched to freelance writing about personal finance, and I'm seeing that those things are contributing to an upper limit problem. And I guess I was just wondering if you guys had seen any other folks set themselves up quite so effectively for that situation, and any antidotes and antidotes.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the most important thing to take away from this conversation is this general conversation is that many extremely accomplished people who have everything they need to make some, you know, to create a business or a professional life that really works for them, run into the same patterns, which is how we know it's a cultural pattern. It's not you individually being screwed up because everybody else is doing the same thing, right? I mean, perfectionism too, you know. Perfectionism, I think, a lot of times really plays a part in that modest hard work. Well, you know, if I'm just perfect enough, then and this partly comes from, we do see some people are in a position from their family position and their social position where they kind of do the bare minimum, and then somebody does give them something and you think, well, I'll work 3 times as hard and then they'll give that to me too, but they won't, right? So we have to make it. But yeah, I mean, I think you have, my guess, I don't know you, but my guess is you have everything you need except a little bit of structure to just kind of get yourself oriented and give yourself something to, just a scaffolding, you know, like, okay, I'm just going to work on this for a while. And then a champion and a squad. You've got it, but we've got it, but we don't know we've got it. And so that makes it hard to do the things. So
do you think the human giver perception, self-perception lends itself to perfectionism, or am I? Yeah,
very much.
Oops. I was trying not to be one of those, but I guess.
and we do, and that's the thing, is we think, well, I couldn't be that, I'm a feminist, you know, or whatever. And I don't think everybody, there are some of these patterns some people do see their ways out of. I mean, I have a friend who is a Black lesbian, and I was talking about, well, you know, we all have imposter experience sometimes, and she said, I don't have it. I stay in my lane. I know what my lane is, and I know I'm good at it. I'm like, oh wow. People do, you know, some people just can see.
Can I have some of that, please?
I know, like, it's like, you should be, girl, you should be selling that.
Yeah.
But most of us do, and also there is a real component of most of us, we can know it's not real, but you know, a lot of things, we can know it's a social construct, but like money's a social construct too. But money still matters, still affects us. So we can see it, but we still need to, you know, we still need to work on it. And we also need to recognize it when it shows up and realize this is not something intrinsic to me. And also, maybe I shouldn't just keep standing here waiting to be seen, because I've certainly put the work in. Maybe I need to work. Maybe I just need to bang the drum a little harder. Maybe my voice is a little quieter than is serving me. Maybe.
No doubt. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I'm glad you were here, Cheryl.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks. Yeah, your resources have been tremendous. I'm still trying to digest many of them. Thank you for that.
Okay. Good.
Okay, anybody else?
Cheryl just downloaded Revenue Revolution. I wonder, do we want to put that link in chat?
You know, I'm actually sending people to the Accelerator only because I love Revenue Revolution, but it's still very Pamela. But you can definitely go pick it up. If you want to go to revenuerevolution.me, there is a very handy ebook that models what maybe something bigger would look like, serving people at a bigger, on a bigger level.
Yeah, it doesn't contain any of this information. It's really
Yeah,
more
this is
about like how
all-
to structure an offer and
Yeah. It's more on that. It's more on that skill side. It's more on that skill side. And you need both. You need the, you need the self work, you need the support network, but you also need the structure for your skills and the because there's so many things we could do. You can really start spinning your wheels around. Well, I'm going to do this, and the next week, well, maybe I'll try that, and maybe I'll do a Substack, and maybe I'll do a,
Yeah.
podcast and all the things.
So many options, so little time.
So little
Right?
focus.
Yeah.
Anybody else have some? I know you all have some questions. Petchy, come on, you got a question. And you can just you can also throw some questions into the chat if you prefer. You don't need to raise your hand. If you do, we know you're there. Yeah, Pavitra, now I need to put the plan into action. And that's that's the dance. Is we've got a structure, we've got a plan, we've got a program, we're going to implement it. Then we run into some maybe head stuff and we work on that for a while, then we go back to the plan. It's a back and forth. It's not it's not like, okay, you empty your head. It's sort of like your trash in your house. I mean, you don't just empty the trash and then that's done. You never have to do that again. It's trash. It gets filled and then you empty it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like breaking down in tears with your coach. It's just like, oh, there's that again. That's my favorite. It's all good. Oh, I want to write science articles for the Atlantic. I love that. That sounds great. It used to be I don't think it still is, but I used to have sort of a someday maybe goal to write for the New Yorker. Anything for the New Yorker. Just thought that would be cool to be in the New Yorker. But then I wrote all those words and I was like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. Who else has? Anybody else have? Anybody else see yourself in any of this? Anybody else feeling stuck? Is there something that you're just like, yeah, I can see how that stuff would all help, but that's not going to help me because I've got this other thing. I mean, you might have an unsolvable problem. It's possible. The biggest unsolvable problem is, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not doing that right now. I'll do that, and that's fine. Sometimes we need to be there. Sometimes you just don't have the spoons to like put the work in for now. But if you are like, I am ready for this, I am ready to show up and work through some things. I'm ready for this maybe to not be as hard as I'm making it out to be. I'm ready for this. Maybe it could just work. Maybe I could tweak a couple of things and actually this would sort of work. All right. I'll give y'all, since we're not on a time delay, I'll give y'all another minute. If anybody needs to work up the courage, we're almost gone. I love answering questions, so please. Oh, this is a good one. Thank you. How important
Here's
is
a good
it
one.
to have a niche in writing? Apologies to my Canadian friends. Niche, just like, I feel funny when I say niche. This is a great question. How important is it to have a niche in writing? Also business, also graphic design, also therapy, anything that you do, services especially. I don't think it's important per se at all to have a niche. I think it's critical to understand who you can serve at the deepest level. So we say niche and we think, SaaS, or we think medical tech, or we think, bilingual people. But and I don't think that's necessary. I mean, some people do very well with it, but I think the reason that niching down works is because it comes out of an understanding of who can you help, who it's really worth it to them, if you're a makeup artist, that's great, that's cool, right? You're a makeup artist, you do makeup, that's fun, that's cool, it's an interesting job. If you're a makeup artist and you primarily work with folks in chemo, it's so much more important. You are touching that person on such a more fundamental level about who they are and their identity, and trying to find a little spark of joy on a day that's just crappy. You are doing the same work on a much more transformational level. And so if you can figure out who could I work with, and that's very much like to your point about persuasive writing, who can I work with where this would really mean so much to them? That's why people who specialize get paid more. Partly it's just strange. Like partly it's just, I mean, if you're a vet and you specialize in, pugs, you're going to make more money because all the pug people want you, and they don't want somebody who just works on French bulldogs, So some of it is just the psychology of positioning. But if you really think about it, who can you help on a most transformational level? That's where a good niche that doesn't feel like it's limiting you, it actually feels like it's expanding what you can do, because you can go so much deeper. That's what I think.
That's a fantastic way to think about it.
Right. Well, I would love if if I can help, please let me know. You don't have to be ready for the full accelerator. That is kind of the big box, but I have some smaller boxes as well, because not everybody has 6 months of emotional energy right out of the gate, and I get that. Or you have some things you want to work on. So I would love to connect. I don't see any DMs, but you can DM either me or Pamela with your email address if you want us to just connect with you, see if there's a possibility. You all know where to reach us. We will be publishing a replay probably on YouTube, and it'll probably take a day or two just to get it kind of cleaned up and posted, but we will certainly let you know. So thank you all. Do shoot me a note if you have a question. You can shoot it to me on LinkedIn, or shoot it to me in your connection form on the Accelerator, and I'm happy to answer. Toral did work one-on-one with me for 6 months, and I have a couple of clients here, and yes, and they are all lovely, amazing humans. All right, good. Thank you all so much. Brilliant job. Thank you so much for your great questions and your wonderful energy. You really, to use kind of a woo-woo cliche, you guys really held space for some real conversation, and I appreciate that. So thank you all. Talk to you soon. Take care of yourselves, stay fierce, and go get it. Thank you all.